Hey everyone, LinkedIn Live, James Azar here with CyberHub Engage. Thank you for tuning in today. Difficult days behind us, difficult days ahead of us. It's the weekend, and in these times, sometimes the weekends are just as crazy as the weekdays. We're tuning in today, Thursday, March 19th, 2020, and here are our headlines for your daily cyber briefing today. We have a little bit of cyber, a little bit of criminal activity, and a little bit of privacy concerns. Where France warns of a new ransomware gang targeting local governments, a food delivery service in Germany goes under a DDoS attack, and Trickbot Emotet Malware are using coronavirus news to evade detection, and finally, privacy advocates throwing out red flags over government actions during this epidemic. And now for your daily cyber briefing brought to you by our friends over at cyberhubusa.co for your virtual cyber awareness trainings for your team with the latest and greatest threats. Go to cyberhubusa.co for amazing services that they have available just for you during these times. Again, cyberhubusa.co. And now let's start with today's daily cyber briefing, where France's cybersecurity agency issued an alert this week warning about a new ransomware gang that's been recently seen targeting the networks of local government authorities. The alert issued by France's CERT team points to a rising number of attacks carried out with a new version of the Mespinosa ransomware strain, also known as the Paisa ransomware. For those tuning in for the first time, I'm constantly talking about the fact that we need to give one name to everything. So please, just one name. If anything during this period of time that we can agree to is let's give everything just one name and go from there. This ransomware strain was first spotted making victims last year in October of 2019, according to reports at the Times. Victims reported having data encrypted with the .locked extension added at the end of each ransomed file. The new Mespinosa version was spotted 2 months later in December of 2019. This one used the .pisa file extension, which explains the second Pisa name under which this ransomware is sometimes referred to. In previous of Mespinosa/Pisa infections, most of the victims were companies, suggesting that the group behind this new ransomware was specifically targeting large corporate networks in an attempt to maximize ransom demands and inherently its profits. Now, CERT-FR says that the Pisa gang has moved to target French organizations, with the agency receiving reports of multiple infections. Unclear how the Pisa gang is really infecting its victims. According to CERT France, it's still investigating how the Pisa gang is gaining access to the victims' networks. However, forensic clues left behind paint a picture of what could have happened on some of the infected ransomed networks. For example, CERT-FR said there was evidence suggesting that the Pisa gang launched brute force attacks against management consoles and Active Directory accounts. These brute force attacks were followed by the exfiltration of company accounts and passwords and database. Victim organizations also reported seeing unauthorized RDP connections to their domain controllers and the deployment of batch and PowerShell scripts. Furthermore, the Pisa gang also deployed a version of the PowerShell Empire penetration testing tool, stopped various antivirus products, and even uninstalled Windows Defenders in some instances. Investigators said they also analyzed the ransomware and its encryption algorithms, and they weren't able to find any implementation flaws that could permit victims to bypass the ransomware payment and decrypt files for free. According to CERT-FR, the Pisa ransomware code is specific and very short, based on public Python libraries. We're bound to see more and more of this stuff pop up now with the epidemic and the pandemic going through with the Wuhan virus or COVID-19. We're bound to see more of this stuff take place, where cyber criminals are going to be targeting those most vulnerable. We've reported on this week how they're targeting healthcare organizations with ransomware attacks in order to maximize payment. Now they are going after local municipalities, and our next story will just show you how low they actually will go. Where cyber criminals found in the context of a public health crisis that's causing unprecedented restrictions affecting many restaurants, they found a perfect opportunity to start launching an attack on the systems of a takeaway food delivery service in Germany. The measures adopted by the country to limit the spread of the COVID-19, not just only in Germany, but everywhere over the world, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, have a drastic impact on social life. Restaurants function under strict rules that limit the number of guests, impose a greater distance between the tables, and they have to stay closed between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Under these conditions, many Germans order in through food delivery services like takeaway.com, or in German it's lieferando.de. Yet cybercriminals have launched a distributed denial of service attack on the website, demanding around 2 bitcoins to stop the siege. In some of the Twitter messages, you can actually see this evidently here. Give me just a moment. I'll put this up here on the screen. These are some of the messages that we've seen translated through the Twitter web app as posted on Bleeping Computer and other websites. We're also seeing more attacks on the food delivery place in subsequent tweets. The website informed that it would refund orders that had been paid online and were not delivered, and that this can't happen automatically, that customers would have to contact them through email in order to do that. They're targeting what we, for a very, very long time, have been talking about here on CyberHub Engage and in the cybersecurity industry, whether it's at RSA or any event that I've been to or any conversations, roundtables. Small businesses that are now experiencing a level of growth that could be those that are employing some of the workers who are unemployed due to other businesses not being able to maintain their business or sending people out on non-paid leave, who are now going into the food delivery service. They're targeting these small companies who've had limited resources to begin with, like apps, restaurants, takeaway services, and others, with attacks in order to get paid. And these companies don't have the resources. So for those companies that are listening, watching, if you are serving in this food delivery business and you need help, I've got a group of cybersecurity researchers and professionals that are willing to help you for absolutely free in this trying period to ensure that your business doesn't get interrupted and that you're able to continue to do the service that you are doing in order to help people get food, medication, or so many of the other vital needs that they have. So if you know of any small businesses that need help, you can send them to our CyberHub Engage website or any one of our social media pages. They can just send me a message directly. If you're a cybersecurity researcher, cybersecurity professional, and you want to be part of this as we kind of try to help some of these smaller businesses who really don't have a lot of cybersecurity in place and could really use some of our help right now in order to continue to operate their business so that they can deliver the food to many of us, so that they can deliver the medication to those who most need it, so that they can continue to support their local community. You can also go to our social media pages, anywhere on LinkedIn here, or through Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or you can also contact me on Twitter myself with my handle just right over my head here as well. And just contact me directly. We'd love to get as many people in this effort as possible. I know we've already helped several organizations here over the last few days get some help in terms of against DDoS attacks and run some scans for them and so forth. So again, anything we can do to help the community as well. And now we move to another story where essentially Trickbots are back in it. And this time, the Trickbot and Emotet Trojans have started to add text from coronavirus news stories to bypass security software using artificial intelligence and machine learning to detect malware. Before the malware is distributed in phishing campaigns or other attacks, developers commonly use a program called a scripter to obfuscate or encrypt the malicious code. As you see on the screen right now, they are using some of the COVID-19 or Wuhan virus keywords and headlines in order to go fully undetectable. This was shown to be particularly useful against security software that utilizes machine learning or artificial intelligence to detect malicious programs. You can see these also on our website and social media pages. Vitaly Kremes, who's the head of Sentinel Labs, think it could be useful with these strings against the AI ML security engines. By and large, he says the coronavirus strings being used by the malware cryptor generator deploy public news content as a methodology to frustrate certain machine learning static file parser methodologies. The Goodware string addition technique allows the criminal cryptor operators to create cryptid binaries that might allow bypasses of AI ML engines of certain antivirus products, as it was proved in the silence bypass method. That was a statement Kremes made to Bleeping Computer through email. we've been reporting the increased use of the COVID-19 or Wuhan virus pandemic as a way to create more phishing scams, more ransomware, and more malware. So just pay attention, folks. This does exist in your network, and so just be wary. And for our final story of the day today here on the CyberHub Engage Daily Cyber Briefing, let's get into privacy a little bit. For those who don't know, we do have another podcast here on CyberHub Engage called Goodbye Privacy. We're on season 2 right now, and thanks to this pandemic, we haven't been able to put out many more episodes, but we will be getting back to that next week, where privacy is now being tested by various ways because governments are overreaching. So in several of these stories, including Israel, France, UK, Singapore, and China, there are restrictions and tracking of those who have been diagnosed as carrying the Wuhan virus or COVID-19 in their system. And should they move the alerts on essentially by tracking their mobile devices and their bank accounts, the police will come and actually file criminal charges against them for violating their self-quarantine orders, which begs the question is this a temporary retrieve, or is it part of a more permanent way that government will use this pandemic in order to start tracking people? Today, it's people who may be carrying the Wuhan virus, and tomorrow it could be people who are just against a specific government or against don't agree with a specific standpoint. We know that China doesn't exactly have the best human rights record to begin with, but we're seeing this happening in Israel, in France, in different parts of Europe. There's discussions about this even going on here in the U.S. Canada's also considering this as a way to stop the spread and to ensure that people still self-quarantine, which begs the question, at what cost do we trump privacy for security? And it's an unprecedented question, right? It took 9/11 for the Patriot Act to get through. And the reaching effects of this, meaning any bill that goes on now or any law that is passed now should have some sort of sunset clause that expires within 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Not saying we don't need to do it. Obviously, there's a public health crisis at our hands that is threatening the lives of many people. The numbers out of Italy are absolutely staggering and very concerning. And some of the numbers coming out of Asia, where Singapore and South Korea both reported somewhat of lesser amounts of cases of the Wuhan virus, only to then lift restrictions, and then the jump in cases has come right back up, which leads many to believe that it's going to take a little bit more time and more effort in order to contain this specific virus, which is, where's the sunset clause to our privacy, and what are they really tracking? In Israel, the Shin Bet, which is the equivalent of the American FBI, has said that they're only tracking locations. They're not looking at messages. They're not looking at call records. They're only ensuring that you are within the quarantine area that you're required to be, meaning your address and your apartment, where your phone, where you're supposed to be. They're also tracking your banking records to ensure that if you're withdrawing any money, they know about it, and then they send the police to do that. France is implementing something extremely similar as well, and so are other European nations. So a very interesting debate in this time. We're hearing a lot about this, and we hear about the economical impact. But what about this privacy piece of it, which I think plays a critical role, which is, are we really willing to give up another piece of our privacy that could be a long-term effect way beyond this Wuhan virus pandemic? And if so, what does that really mean? And so, very interesting discussion. You can comment below on this. You can also tune in. I'll be doing these live as of next week. Live meaning with a guest, and you can interact with us and so forth. And so if you want to do that, just come on in, jump right in. We'd love to have this conversation, talk about it. If you're a privacy expert and you've got some ideas, please contact us here on the CyberHub Engage page on LinkedIn, or if you're listening, please go to our any one of our CyberHub Engage pages or our website at cyberhubengage.com. Send us a message, contact me again directly. We'd love to be able to talk about it. That's it for our daily cyber briefing today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Tomorrow, I'll be on with Nigel from Unbound as we kind of wrap up this week, our first week. I've been in self-quarantine since I've come back from Israel. I really haven't left my home in now 6 days, 5 days, five I can't remember. It's been about 6 days. I mean, I came back really late on Friday night. It is Thursday, so we'll be kind of bringing to you guys our summary of the week. And if you haven't caught Nigel and I before, we had a great time at RSA face-to-face. We were elbow bumping. This time he's still in Brussels, so I'm wondering how the quarantine is going on and how people in Europe are taking this, and especially how around privacy as well. So we're going to be talking about that tomorrow with Nigel, so make sure you tune in for that. Thank you to our sponsors, supporters. Thank you to all of our viewers. Until tomorrow, folks, stay cyber safe.